A life worth loving. That's the mission behind an organization that provides HIV care across North Metro Atlanta. Positive Impact Health Centers offers comprehensive HIV care that goes beyond medical services. They have locations in Chamblee, Decatur, Duluth, and Marietta. Georgia has 4 counties that are part of a nationwide effort to end the HIV epidemic. I talked to leaders from the organization about their work.
So our mission is to provide client-centered care for the HIV community to have a life worth loving, and that involves obviously medical care for people living with HIV. It also involves addiction services, mental health, case management, and other wraparound services like housing, nutritional needs. We're going to be opening up a dental care center soon. We serve over 6,000 people living with HIV every year with medical care.
Because we are in the South, part of the Bible Belt, we have a high rate of a lot of racism, homophobia, transphobia, and all of that plays into whether somebody even wants to get tested for HIV. It impacts the way that people talk about HIV when they're engaging in sex or navigating healthcare. So a big part of it is just the region that we're in and the stigma around HIV, which is extremely prevalent in the South. And then just kind of living everyday life. Living with HIV is already tough just because of the diagnosis. But even if you take your medication every day and if you reach an undetectable status, you still have to navigate life. You still have to navigate going to work, navigating your family, navigating relationships. So that adds a whole nother layer of like internalized stigma that a person is dealing with, but also the external stigma of going into your community. And, you know, if you want to try and donate blood or, you know, things like that.
And then speaking of like new diagnoses, we have, they did a study, and I can send this to you, about in the epidemic of all the counties across the country that had the highest rates of new diagnoses, and 5 of them were in the Metro Atlanta area. So of all the counties, I think there were like 49 that were identified across the country as the highest rates of new infections. 5 of them are actually in Metro Atlanta.
And I was diagnosed September 2012, didn't talk about it for a couple of years. Then I actually came to a training that Positive Impact at the time was hosting by Tim McDaniel, who's the chief of staff now. And I was like, oh, wow, they're doing really great work with different communities and how HIV impacts multiple different types of people. And so that was kind of my introduction to the agency. A couple of years later, there was a job position that I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I want to do. I was working at a hospital at the time, but I wanted to do something that was a little bit more closer to the LGBTQ community, but also something that I feel like was going to teach me about my own life and help me live better. So I applied. It took about 6 months, and I've been here for 5 years now and just love it.
Saving Georgians one scan at a time. Get a free heart scan for you and your partner with minimal requirements. Visit virtualimagingatl.com.